I think time is a really important one here. When and where do you make time to study? So let's talk that through because I think that's kind of one of the keys here. So I'll start with you, Megan. Tell us when and where did you make time to study?
So like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of time, and when I started taking the test, pretty much Black Spectacles is the only one who had anything out officially for 5.0.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically used Black Spectacles, and I would listen to it while I was cooking, while I was putting the laundry away, while I was cleaning. Anytime I could put earbuds in. Sometimes at work when I was cranking on something that I didn't really have to think too much about. So I just kind of tried to squeeze it in wherever I could. And I just kept like a notepad nearby that I could jot down something if I needed to make a note.
Okay. And Megan, tell me, I mean, how much experience do you have as an architect?
So I graduated with my master's in 2015, but I went to University of Cincinnati, so we have a lot of co-ops.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had my IDP finished when I graduated,
Mm-hmm.
and then
nice.
I've been out for years.
Okay. Got it. And I asked that question because I think it's important for people to think about like, okay, well, is Megan, has she been practicing for 15 years and so she has all this experience, or she have the same amount of experience that I might have, is some of the questions that people might be kind of wondering. So I think you make the case that you don't need to have 15 years of experience in order to pass these exams, which I think is interesting.
No, I think some experience is probably good. Like I think if I had just graduated, I would have had to study more because some of the questions, especially in like the construction administration, is sort of issues that are kind of only conceptual to you when you graduate, but having worked a year or two, you understand like, oh yeah, this is typical everyday issues.
Yep. Okay. Joe, how about you?
So I would try and get up about an hour earlier, and I'd study before work. So there's an hour right there, and then I would try and study over lunch, which is another hour. And then after work, if I could get an hour or two in, that'd be really great. But sometimes it wouldn't happen. But already just having those first 2 hours of the day was crucial to kind of doing that every day for a month. It was plenty for me.
Got it. It's so funny. I can taste the hot dogs from Demon Dogs that I used to eat when I was studying during the week. My wife and I used to meet at the DePaul library, and I would study and she would grade papers, and we would always get a Demon Dog before we went. So you're making me hungry. Let's see. So Kate, tell me a little bit about how you handled timing.
So I tried very similar to what Joe was saying. I tried to study during lunch if I could, and then at least an hour and a half or 2 hours at night if I had the time. And then I tried to really cram in a lot on the weekends. So I'd set a limit of 6 hours a day on the weekends, and would try to really set out big blocks to get a lot of stuff done during the weekends.
Okay, got you. So a little bit during the week, but your focus was more on the weekends.
Right.
Okay, and then Courtney.
I had a similar schedule to Joe and Kate. I did an hour every morning before work, a half hour at lunch, never at night because I was so fried from work at the end of the day, and usually 2 to 4 hours each weekend day. Weekends were big for me too.
Got it. And I think I don't know about you guys, so maybe you guys could talk a little bit about this. But I found that, 300 years ago when I studied for this thing, it seemed like if I was studying a little bit before work and maybe even a little bit during lunch and afterward, that like people in the office started to kind of figure out like, oh, Mark's studying for these exams. And so people sort of knew that. And I don't know if they backed off a little bit, but I felt like you guys all know what it's like to, to be in that office environment. And sometimes there's a little bit of pressure to just sort of, be in your seat all the time. But I felt like there was a little bit of leeway when folks knew that you were studying for these exams. Did you guys feel that at all?
I felt that there was a lot of leeway. This is Megan. When I was studying, and my firm actually does, you get 2 days off for each test. So presumably 1 day for a study day and 1 day to take the test. And those are paid days off as a way to motivate you to get through the test.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends. I know some people at my firm, like, well, I used most of mine as free time because I used them after I actually passed the test. But that is a nice way to either, a lot of people actually take the test on the first day and then use the second day to decompress.
Nice. How about anyone else? Good.
It's definitely a challenge. This is Kate. To balance, making sure you're getting your work done and studying. But I found the more that you spoke up about it and talked about it with your supervisors and principals, that definitely, you get the respect and support that you needed. It just is a matter of speaking up about it, which I know it's hard to do, and it's hard to bring up those conversations about, needing a little bit of extra time or needing time to focus, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Just to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things we always talk about this is that everyone who goes through this process ends up becoming a better architect, which essentially means you're going to become a better employee. You're going to probably know a lot more. You're going to be able to maybe make fewer mistakes. And so in general, and of course this isn't always the case, we hear all kinds of different cases here, but in general, most of your supervisors, they want you to get licensed. And so they will give you a little bit of space in order to do that, because you're going to be a better architect. So you're going to do a better job at the work you're supposed to be doing. And also, just as a side note, don't forget, in most cases, when you get licensed, your billing rate goes up too. And so that means that they can bill you out at a higher rate. So they're like super incented to get you guys licensed. So they should totally, be an advocate for giving you some space to study. Any other thoughts here? I don't want to pass anyone up. All right.
I'd say over lunch was an easy time, and then before work was also an easy time for people to kind of let you be. But I found that I'd have to, once I was done with my work, just kind of get out of the office as a way to not have more stuff pile on. So I think communication is good, but also knowing kind of where to draw the line and when to kind of put your studying before.
Maybe
I would say
go ahead.
To keep time for yourself. Like when I was studying, even though I was doing it at a crazy pace, I did most of my studying in the evenings and on the weekends. But like in my office, I have a group of girls that we go out and walk at lunch, and I didn't give up my walk at lunch, because even if you're studying like crazy, you got to make sure you're not burning yourself out. So you still got to allow yourself a little leeway to breathe.
Yeah, I like that. Don't burn yourself out.
I definitely agree with that. This is Courtney. I think I read that in a blog. I think Michael Rosica, the young architect guy, he wrote a blog about how important it is to exercise. And that was so true, because I think there was one exam that I didn't exercise during, and I was a mess. And then once I made sure that was part of it, just important to prioritize the things that keep you sane. It's so much easier.
Yeah, that's awesome.